Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Tonight's story isn't about a haunted house, it isn't about a cursed doll, and it's definitely not about a monster hiding in the dark. Tonight's story is about a place where darkness is normal, where silence is expected, and where the dead are supposed to stay dead. Because sometimes, the body on the table isn't really a body. My name is Ethan, and for 6 months, I worked the night shift at St. Mary's County Hospital. Not as a doctor, not as a nurse, I was a morgue assistant. The kind of job people don't ask questions about. The kind of job that makes your friends go quiet when you mention it. But the truth, I liked it. It was calm, quiet, predictable, no screaming patients, no angry families, no emergencies. Just cold steel doors, fluorescent lights, and the hum of refrigeration units that never stopped. Most nights were simple. A body comes in. You log the time, tag the wrist, put it in a drawer, lock everything. Then you sit in the office, drinking burnt coffee and pretending you're not thinking about what's behind those doors. That's what the job was supposed to be, until Tuesday night. The night I met Drawer 6, it was around to 17 a.m. when the elevator dinged. I looked up from my paperwork and saw 2 paramedics wheeling in a covered stretcher. Both of them looked wrong, not tired, not rushed, just pale. Like they'd seen something they weren't ready for. One of them, a guy named Mason, swallowed hard and said, "Body transfer." No family, no ID. I stood up and grabbed my clipboard. "What happened?" I asked casually. Mason didn't answer. Instead, he stared at the sheet covering the body like he expected it to move. The other paramedic, a woman, finally spoke. "Car accident," she whispered. "But it wasn't normal." I frowned. "What do you mean?" She didn't respond. They rolled the stretcher into the morgue intake area, and I lifted the sheet to check the wrist tag. But there was no wrist tag. I blinked. "That's not standard." Mason forced a shaky smile. "Yeah, sorry. Thea was chaos. Just do your thing." Then he leaned closer and lowered his voice. "And Ethan, don't open the mouth." I stared at him. "What?" Mason's eyes looked glassy. "Just don't." Then both paramedics rushed back into the elevator like the morgue was going to swallow them. And suddenly, I was alone, with a body that had no name. I pulled the sheet back. And for a second, my brain refused to process what I was seeing, because the man on the stretcher looked almost untouched. No crushed skull, no broken bones, no blood. Just a young man, maybe late 20s, pale skin, dark hair, closed eyes, like he was sleeping. But then I noticed the neck. There were bruises, not like a car crash. More like fingers, like someone had tried to choke him. I felt a chill crawl down my spine. I told myself it was nothing. People die in different ways. I grabbed the blank wrist tag and wrote, "Unknown male to 17 a.m. Then I did what I always did. I rolled him toward the cold storage drawers. The metal hallway felt longer than usual. The air felt heavier. The hum of the freezers sounded louder. And when I reached the storage wall, I realized something that made my stomach tighten. Drawer 6 was already open. I froze. Because I never left drawers open. Ever. I slowly walked closer. The drawer was empty. But the metal tray inside had something on it. A single object, a small black tooth. Not a human tooth. It was too long, too sharp. Like a dog's tooth, or something worse. I stared at it, confused. Then, without thinking, I picked it up. It was ice cold, and the moment my fingers touched it, I heard something behind me. A sound so quiet I almost missed it, a soft click. Like someone cracking their knuckles. I spun around. The body on the stretcher was still lying there. Eyes closed, still, but something felt different, like the air around him had changed. "Okay, Ethan," I muttered. "You're tired. That's all." I slid the body into drawer 6, pushed it shut, locked it, and walked back to my office. Trying not to look at the storage wall, trying not to think about that tooth. At 3:06 a.m., I heard it, a loud metallic bang. I jumped in my chair. It came from the storage hallway. I stared at the door. The morgue office door was thick, but sound carried in this place. The bang came again, then again. Like someone was hitting metal from the inside. My throat went dry. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped into the hallway. The lights flickered once, then stabilized. The freezer wall stood in front of me like a row of giant coffins, silent, still. I took a slow step forward. Then another. My eyes scanned the drawer numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I reached drawer 6, and my blood turned to ice. The handle was moving, not shaking, not rattling, moving, like someone was testing it. Like fingers were wrapping around it from the inside. I backed up. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would crack my ribs. "Hello," I called out. My voice sounded pathetic. The handle stopped. For 5 seconds, nothing happened. Then, from inside drawer 6, I heard a whisper. Not loud, not clear, but close. Like lips pressed against metal. It said, "Ethan." I froze. Because I hadn't told anyone my name. I stumbled back to the office and slammed the door. Locked it. Then I sat down, shaking. I told myself I was hallucinating. Sleep deprivation, stress, anything, but I couldn't ignore one fact. The paramedic told me not to open the mouth. Why? What was in his mouth? I stared at my phone. My fingers hovered over the emergency number, but what was I going to say? Hi? Yes, I think the corpse is whispering my name. I'd be fired. Or laughed at. So instead, I opened the morgue logbook. I flipped through old entries, and that's when I saw something that made my stomach drop. A handwritten note taped to the inside cover. Old, yellowed, like it had been there for years. It said, "Night shift rules. 1. Never leave drawer 6 open. 2. Never open drawer 6 after 3 a.m. 3. If you hear scratching, do not answer. 4. If you hear your name, do not look. 5. If the body arrives without ID, do not check the mouth." My hands started trembling. I stared at Rule 5. My brain tried to reject it. But it was right there. Someone else knew. Someone else had experienced this, and I had broken the rules already. I touched the tooth in my pocket. I'd kept it without thinking. And suddenly, I realized something even worse. Drawer 6 wasn't just a drawer, it was a cage. At 3:33 a.m., I heard the scratching, slow, deliberate, metal on metal, like nails dragging across the inside of the drawer. I sat frozen in my chair. I tried not to breathe. I tried not to move, but then, my computer monitor flickered. The CCTV feed automatically switched on. One camera, storage hallway, and there it was. Drawer 6, the handle was turning again, and then, the drawer began to slide open. I watched in horror as the metal tray moved outward by itself. Just a few inches, then a foot, then halfway. And what I saw inside made my entire body go numb. The corpse was sitting up, not standing, not crawling, sitting, perfectly upright, like a man calmly waking from a nap. His eyes were open now, but they weren't normal eyes. They were black, not dark brown, not shadowy. Black, like holes. Then his head slowly turned, toward the camera, toward me, like he could see through the screen. He smiled, and I saw his teeth, or what was left of them, because his mouth was filled with sharp black teeth. Too many, packed together like a shark's mouth. And then, he mouthed something. I couldn't hear it, but I could read his lips. He said, "You took my tooth." I jumped up, heart racing. I backed away from the monitor. Then the office lights went out. The room went pitch black. Only the monitor glow remained. The CCTV still showed the hallway. And drawer 6 was fully open now. The thing stepped out, slowly, bare feet touching the cold floor. Its skin looked stretched, like it didn't fit right. Its head tilted slightly as it walked, like it was listening. Then it stopped. Right in front of the office door, and it leaned down. And pressed its face against the glass window. I couldn't see its features clearly, but I could see its eyes. 2 black pits, staring directly at me. Then, it knocked. 3 times, softly, like a polite visitor. Knock, knock, knock. My entire body was shaking. I reached for the door handle, but then I remembered Rule 4. If you hear your name, do not look. And Rule 3. If you hear scratching, do not answer. I stepped back, then the voice came again. Clearer this time, right outside the door. "Ethan, open it." I covered my mouth. Tears filled my eyes. Then, the voice changed. It became my mother's voice, soft, familiar. "Ethan, baby, Please, my stomach dropped. Because my mother was dead. She had been dead for 6 years. I stumbled backward. The voice changed again. Now it sounded like my younger brother, crying. Ethan, help me. Please. I shut my eyes. I screamed. Stop. The knocking stopped. Silence. For 10 seconds. Then the voice whispered. Okay, and the office door handle began to turn. I ran, not toward the exit. Because the exit was down the hallway, past the storage wall. Task drawer 6. No. I ran into the small autopsy room behind the office. I slammed the door, locked it. Then I backed up until I hit the stainless steel table. My breathing was loud, too loud. Then I heard something outside, the sound of wet chewing, slow, disgusting, like someone biting into raw meat. Then I heard a crunch, then another. I realized with horror, it was chewing on the office door. The metal groaned, then the chewing stopped. And something heavy slammed into the autopsy room door. Once, twice, 3 times. The lock started shaking. I looked around desperately. My eyes landed on a drawer of tools, scalpels, bone saw, forceps. My hands shook as I grabbed the largest scalpel. Then the door went quiet, silence, and then a whisper came through the crack. Ethan, you broke the rules. I held my breath. Then it said, you looked. My blood froze, because I had stared right at it through the CCTV. I had watched its mouth. I had watched its teeth. And now, it knew. The autopsy room door creaked open. Slowly, I stared in disbelief. Because I had locked it. The lock was still in place. Still intact, but the door opened anyway, like the room itself was giving up. The thing stepped inside, and in the dim monitor glow, I saw its mouth clearly. It wasn't just teeth. It was a second jaw, inside the first. Like something was living in there. It smiled wider, and in a calm, human voice, it said, you're going to help me go home. I screamed and swung the scalpel. It caught my wrist. Its grip was freezing. Not cold like ice, cold like space, like the absence of life. Then it leaned closer, and opened its mouth. And I saw something inside, not teeth, not tongue. Something moving, something crawling. Like black worms, and in the middle of them was a small metal tag, a wrist tag, with a name written on it. Not his, my. It read, ETHAN to 17 a.m.